welcome to the TeleDynes live stream. Have a microphone down there. How's everybody doing on a Sunday? Pretty good. Myself. We had a gig yesterday. Pretty fun outdoor show in Connecticut at called the Farm at Carter Hill. It was like a big hootenanny car show thing, and it was a lot of fun. Oh, thanks. Yeah, I'm trying to break out and try different types of shirts, and figured it matched the the guitar. I got these blue creepers too. So it's all color coordinated. All right. Well, anyway, yeah, just kind of hang out for today. Play a little guitar. Kind of give people some updates of what's going on with the channel. We've got some new gear demo videos coming out quite soon. The next thing is I'm doing this review of this wireless guitar in-ear monitor. You could use it for anything. You can use it for vocals or your instrument, and it's just a transmitter, so you can technically just use it in your home audio system, I suppose, and just connect a headphone jack to it. And yeah, this plugs into like the board, I guess, if you want to use it that way. I haven't really had a chance to break it down yet, but if you have an output on your amplifier or the board, you can put a monitor mix in ear. I've used an in-ear monitor once, I think, and that was years ago, so I haven't really had a chance. I'd be curious to see what this is like in a real-world situation again with the new tech, because it's still it's like 2.5 gigahertz, whatever that means, 2.5 gigahertz connection. I don't know if it's Bluetooth tech or whatever it is, but anyway, it's paired together automatically, so you don't have to pair them. It comes from the factory, so it's just plug and play and go. So that's one of the next videos that's coming up, and then I have another Rockabilly riffs video. That's going to be the next kind of lesson video that's coming. It seemed to get quite a bit of views, at least for this channel anyway. Within a short time frame. So instead of doing, like I'd said before, was just the swinging riffs, just about 50% of rockabilly, and then the other half is the 2-beat stuff, right? So there's all sorts of different things. So when you're playing 2-beat type rhythms, I'm calling it Rockabilly Riffs Part 2, but it gets a lot of influence from country chicken picking guitar, as well as pedal steel type licks, like something like this, and or doing these kind of bends, right? And we have the Bigsby on there. It adds a nice little waver to it. There's a couple other types of things, like a lot of that bending the third up while you got the fifth and the root together. Bend it up. You can also just do this too. I like to do it this way as opposed to this way. I've seen people play it both ways. You can also play the triad like this and go pop it up to the fourth for a second, or pre-bend, bring it down like that. All right. I like to do it like this because it keeps your index finger on the root, the octave root, instead of trying to reposition your hand too quick. And that's for this side. For that, it's a little more difficult because you're bending up to, you're doing that, you can think of it, you're bending up to the third and the fifth of an E, right? And then you're back on an A9 or an E6. You want to think of it that way too. So it works all these different types of country bends and rockabilly type things, which would be the more rockabilly type licks would be, or playing triplets and things like that, or which something like that. That's just the bebop scale. You're just playing it real fast, usually with the bridge pickup. Whatever. Yeah, with the 2-beat things, you can doing a lot of pull-off type riffs like this. Especially in the key of G. If you're in G, it's great because you have all these open strings you can use. Now that's sort of chicken picking-ish kind of thing. I'm pulling off and then unison. And you can go down here and play the 7th. Add a little more less unison type things. You can also play the flat third, like the ending of Cannonball Rag, something like that. So it's usually note, note, pick with your finger. Play like that, or 3 notes and then a pick with your middle finger of the picking hand. And I'm doing a pull off there, and you're just running down a scale, and you're kind of going 3 3 1 3 3 1 3 3 1, and if you're in G, I mean, you can put a capo, of course, and play the same types of riffs in any key. So if you want to have that sort of droning sound, there's really only one way to get that, and that is to play either in an open key or open tuning, or use a capo. Like, what's the song? That'll Be the Day, the Buddy Holly tune. There, you have to really play it right, you got to have a capo on the 5th fret. Try to approximate it, but I don't have a capo on me, but that little descending line. So you'd put that there, so it's kind of, you would be doing that. That would be in the key of E, but it's in A, so you'd play it like that. And if somebody's changing the key or whatever, you can just move the capo, of course, and just play the same riffs. But to get that sort of open droning sound, that's the way to do that. And I'll be starting. I've got been taking some time here. I've been crazy busy with life and everything else, trying to get back to some videos here. But this is the time of year things are starting to wind down, especially I think I said last stream, by the beginning of next month, things are going to kind of open up a little bit, and I've been taking some time to just get a bunch of scripts together, get a bunch of ideas for videos, and sort of do one day where I'm shooting all the videos, and then I can edit another day, and so on and so forth. And we've got new merch coming out too for the channel and the band and everything too, so that's going to be on the website. And then I haven't done it yet, but there's there will be a YouTube shop at some point. I just haven't set that up yet. As the channel grows, and I see the subscribers keep growing, and it's great. I really appreciate it. All the kind words and the comments. Thank you guys. I appreciate all that, of course, and I do see them, and I try to reply when I can, and If I assume people get them, I usually never get a response back from a comment, but as long as you guys see it, and all that stuff helps the channel. Just a like, a subscribe, and a comment, even just a thumbs up or anything like that, just helps drive the video in the algorithm. Just considered engagement in the channel. And then we got the album coming at some point. Still, we gotta book some studio time to record the next chunk of songs, and again take some time to mix that along with everything else. But for now, let's see what else I can just kind of play around on guitar. Playing the gig yesterday, I noticed this time of year is it changes the way, at least for me, it changes the way I play a little bit. Just the temperature, when it gets cooler out and it gets a little drier, everything just plays, everything's so much more smooth. Is the best way to describe it. Like, it's easier to slide. There's less humidity in the air, and sometimes you're used to putting a little bit more effort into it, and then you don't really need to, and you kind of overshoot like the notes. And another thing that I've noticed is like strap height with guitars. You can see some people have it way down here, some people have it way up, maybe not that high, but I like to kind of put it just basically, right where it would be if I'm sitting down is a good spot to put it. But if you're ever struggling with your wrist or your fingers, just bring the guitar up a little bit more than you might think, and it'll give you it's better access to the fingerboard. It can help. And if you're down here, like punk rock style, that's not good for your wrists. And if you're playing just a 45-minute show or something, it's fine, but you can get through it. But if you have to play several gigs in a week, it can not only, at least for me, it can hurt the wrist and cause cramping in your fingers and stuff like that. And of course, just drink water. So I have a little feel kind of silly. A funny thing happened the other day with my gear. I'm always use the Space Echo if I can. I noticed it doesn't do too well if it's humid out. The tape will it'll drag, and when you play a chord, it'll sound like a warble, like a tape drag. It warbles. It's not a pleasant sound. You can kind of combat this a little bit by turning the overall mix and the volume of the delay down a little bit. But yeah, it's still there. But this time of year, and of course if you're inside, it's fine. But I was playing the gig and I got it all set up. 45-minute set, one show. And I'm like, okay, great. I can crank my amp. We're outside. I don't have to worry about baffles or attenuators or any of that stuff. And I'm going to use the Space Echo. It's going to be a lot of fun. And I play, just warm up, whatever I'm doing. And I'm getting ready to, put the guitar back down and get the set list. And all of a sudden, I hear what I just played through the amplifier. And I went, uh-oh, that's not good. And of course, the only thing I could think of was when I first got the Space Echo, it had an old tape on there. The heads were dirty. And once I replaced the tape, it would do that when I would play. It would spit the same thing back out. And I thought, oh no, the tape heads something's wrong with the eraser head, or the tape is bad or something. Who knows? I got to take it into somebody and have it looked at. So and those types of gigs where it's like a multi-band show, because there was a band before us and there was a band after us. It can feel a little rushed, where they're getting their stuff on, and to keep things kind of relatively within the time frame, you load your gear as fast as you can, get it off of the stage and all of that. So it can be a little hectic. And I didn't have time to think about it, so I just grabbed. I always bring the mystery brain just in case. And mystery brain sounded great. Played the show with that. It was awesome. And then when I went back, I said, before as everyone else is taking their gear off, real quick, let me just see if I can troubleshoot this and see what's going on. And it's doing it again. And then I look down and I see there's this little white knob on here that says S on S, sound on sound. And that was flipped on instead of off. And I went, that's what it was. So it was working as intended. And I'm not used to that because the RE20 pedal, which is based on the 201, and the mystery brain doesn't have that option. So having sound on a delay is just something I never really. The only other delay pedal I've ever played that had that option was I want to say it was the Real Echo, the Dan Electro Real Echo. But I remember playing it at some point and the pedal took a hit or I dropped it or something like that, and the sound on sound function stopped working. But I still had the delay, but I never used the sound on sound anyway, so it didn't really matter. But so I just wasn't used to it, and it's just funny. So I now I know to look at something like that. And one of the I love the mystery brain because it's got the preamp in it, and it really sounds the closest I think to this to the Roland Space Echo. If you have it set right, if you have the preamp a little too hot, it can be a little too, what's the word I'm looking for? Crunchy, edgy sounding, not pleasant. But if I'm playing where the RE21 is a little bit more pleasant sounding, and if you crank the input too much on that one, it can actually give you almost a digital distortion, a different type of unpleasant sound. But the the only downside about the mystery brain is that it doesn't have reverb. I wish there was some kind of reverb built into it, because because you have to have a separate pedal for reverb if you want to use reverb, unless your amp happens to have it. If you have most amps do have reverb, but this old thing doesn't, and it just it's just volume, bass, treble, presence. That's it. No mid, no low, none of that. No master, gain. It's nothing. You just have the two channels: the bass channel, the volume, the master normal channel, and the bass channel actually has a little bit higher output. The presence knob still works in tandem with the bass channel. But if you have that preamp, if you have any kind of preamp going into an amp like this, any Bassman, doesn't matter, it doesn't have to be the blonde. Um, the preamp will make it even more saturated. So you may want to go into the normal channel with something like that. Anyway, let's see. Can I go on about with guitars today? A couple of little practice tips. I know people keep asking about the finger picking stuff. The best way, honestly, to get the finger picking, the Rockabilly finger picking, is to get used to tucking the pickup in your index finger like that, and then playing. I think I mentioned it in the video I did, but it gives you more of a stretch. There's more. To me, it's more comfortable than trying to play with the pick like this. You can do it. When you play with your thumb, it's a little more muted. It gets that, so it doesn't tend to ring out over everything as much. And I don't ever play like that, so I'm not the best at doing that. But I see that some people might do that. But if you can, try just, carry a pick around with you, just practice tucking it up, bringing it back. back and forth. And the patterns to playing is like 2 notes together and then alternating notes. So playing the bass note and the treble note at the same time, and then alternating. And typically I use just the middle finger and my ring finger to play on the 3rd string, 2nd string, and 1st string, the G, B, and E. So I'm just bouncing back and forth. Unless I'm want to play all the strings, all 3 strings together, then you can use all 3 fingers. But if you're just playing individual notes, it's easier to just move your, just play with these 2 fingers over these 3 strings. Alternating notes there. 3, 2, 1. You can go in any combination you want. And that's half the fun, is there is no real pattern to it. It's just, other than keeping the thumb going, it doesn't really matter what you're playing. Typically, you'll play the 6th and the 7th, and then the minor third of the 3rd. And because you have to use your little finger, you're playing these top 4 notes on above the chord. With the 9th and the 6th, sharp 9 and 7, flat 7. And because you're playing off of these notes all the time, you have to play a 7th chord. So if you want to come back down to your root, you just got to remember to move your finger over, or hold them both together if you can. The 7th is going to be ringing out there, but you're typically just going to be playing the lower bass note anyway, so you don't really have to worry about it. You'll usually hear it in more of the 2-beat stuff, or That's Alright Mama type things, where you'll hit. That. It's not necessary, I don't think, to make sure you're doing like that. To play that octave, you can always just keep the low A going. I mean, in A, you could play it like this. You're playing an A or an E chord, which is 50% of rockabilly anyway. You have the open string, the A, and the open E. So you can, and then the E functions as your 5 anyway. So that's a little more, Travis style picking country. And that's another thing too that will help if you're used to Travis style picking, which is typically done without a pick. Well, Merle Travis actually just used his 2 fingers. He didn't use the ring and the little fingers, as far as from what I understand. But a lot of the times it's taught where you use the 4 fingers. So if you're tucking your pickup, you lose the function of your index finger. So it becomes a slightly different picking pattern with your hand. So you can practice that, practicing that just to get used to holding the pick. Also playing that Mystery Train riff. Do that version and Scotty Moore version. Now he played with a thumb pick, so you're going to get more of the bass notes popping out. Oh, the blue hot rod. Yeah, they don't make that, and they don't make this anymore. That's why I bought it, because the I had it on my wish list on Sweetwater for forever, since it came out in 2015, I think. And then I would look at it periodically, and then I saw it discontinued, and I went, "Uh oh." So I couldn't even get it from Sweetwater anymore. So I found it on Reverb, and it was a place in Connecticut, not Connecticut, Canada, that had it, and so I had it shipped down here, and yeah, good luck. Yeah, you can still find them on eBay and Reverb, I think, but it's really hard to find. I found a couple on Facebook Marketplace. Again, this was a couple of years ago now, so I don't even know. Um, they have the new ones out, obviously, but these are ebony fingerboards. The new ones are rosewood. That matters to you. That's otherwise the pickups are the same. I think the body and the dimensions are the same. Obviously, it's different look, but so it's like sparkle something, whatever the colors are. Oof, yeah, yeah. That's less than what I paid for this one. Um, man. Yeah. Like I said, I don't know if you might be able to find one on Reverb. I don't even know anymore. I haven't looked for a while, so and who knows what they're going for. I thought last time I looked, though, it wasn't. They weren't too horrible. Uh, just curious. No, you're right. Nothing. Wow. Oh, the coolant greens are great, though. Yeah, if I was gonna get another hot rod, I'd probably go for that one. It's a neat color. Because they have the blue and the what magenta or something like that. It's like a somewhere in there. I really liked the old purple hot rod um, Gretches that they had back in the 2000s, but the problem with those, other than the rosewood fingerboard, which I preferred, the ebony, um, the the body, the dimensions on those hot rods are it's much thinner. I don't know what the numbers are, but because you can't get them anymore. But I like the thicker body and the jumbo F hole. These aren't jumbo F holes. Like the Phoenix has the jumbo F holes on it. But again, I don't know how much that really makes a difference. But as far as tone goes, hey, you're welcome for the lesson. Yeah. Oh, you have an orange hot rod? Oh, one of the old ones. Those are cool. That's like, yeah, yeah. They're all pretty cool. Mm, drinking my coffee. Yeah, that. Let's see what else on the finger picking thing. If there was, again, you can kind of bounce around, and that's so those two I play together, and then I'm bouncing back and forth between strings. And you can do a little slide too. Right, like what is it? Sort of. It's been a while since I played that. But yeah, you can kind of. And always usually bend the note a little bit. You don't have to. But it's a great little sound, and you can create your own little rhythms. And so that's one thing to practice, is like together, even all the fingers, and then back and forth. And then try to do together and then back and forth right away. Right? And that'll kind of help with the coordination of that. And even if, you know, you don't want to play that Setzer version of the Mystery Train riff, it's a good coordination thing just to practice, just for finger picking in general, because it uses the whole hand. So that's my rundown on that. And again, that's over the one chord, and you apply the same thing to all of the other chords. Now, of course, you notice you go to a 4, you're not playing the E string. So again, you just kind of that. I kind of go back and forth between the 1 and the 3 there. If you're playing a 9, I'm assuming a lot of the stuff you'd be playing a 9. You can go up here and play the 9 or the 13. If you want to have some, you know, add a little bit something else. Unless that chord's in the song, probably wouldn't do that. But and depending on the key you're in, you can reach up there and play the 3rd. A little bit of a stretch there, but you can mess around with stuff like that. If you're playing in certain keys like E or G, I suppose. That one it's not as. You got the F and the E that are there together. You just have to play a different chord. Got like a G6. If you're in E, it's great because you can pull off to the E note. So if you're in A, you go to the 5. You have a little bit more you can work with. But you can also bounce back and forth, which I find myself doing sometimes, just randomly. I'll bounce back and forth between the 1 and the 5 and the 1 and the 5. I'll just kind of hold them both together a little bit. And again, you're palm muting the low strings only. You're not palm muting the top ones. So that's another thing too. You don't want to mute too much of what you're doing up there. You want the top notes to ring out, but the bass notes to kind of be a little bit on the muffled side. I find that sound works really well. Compared to, you know, the thumb pick's great if you're playing. You want to get you're playing, you know, like the Chet Atkins style type of thing where you want all the notes to harmonize, and you've got a pattern or a melody that you're playing together. That's you're going to get way more clarity with a thumb pick than you will with any other method. It just takes a little bit of getting used to playing with that thumb pick. But if you get used to it, you also have a pick as well. It's just they're pretty thick. So. One trick about using these is don't be gentle with it. Don't pick too hard. Just kind of lightly let it graze over the almost just kind of let the pick do the work, basically, instead of trying to really dig in. You want to you would just let the pick do the work is the best advice I could give for that. And then you can do little riffs like that. I'm barely touching the string. So, but and the same with thicker picks in general. I typically just use a Fender medium for everything I play when I'm using regular standard picks. But the thumb picks, for the most part, I haven't played or seen anything that comes in any thinner gauge for thumb picks. So if you see medium and large, that's just the hoop. This is large, so I find that mediums tend to be the best. The large is okay, but I think the mediums, although a little bit tight, it's not going to fly off your hand if you're playing it, because sometimes if you that's why I also say to play lightly, because right here where it's looping around your thumb, if you're digging in too much, this little hoop, believe it or not, could have a tendency to hook onto the string, boop, and then pop the pick off your thumb, or do a little pop like that or something. So that's why I like the mediums. And then you will get what Jerry Reed called blue thumb if you keep playing with it. Gotta match everything else. Yeah, it's something that took me a while. I didn't start using a thumb pick about a few years ago, and it's it's something that's always a work in progress. I don't use it all the time, so I play it on, how many songs do I have? Like 3 songs I play, and I don't always play them live. Cannonball Rag, Mr. Sandman, and Oh by Jingo, and that's pretty much it that I play live anyway. I'll mess around with stuff at home, but those are the only tunes I've really used played in live as a band anyway. So the first song to learn with a thumb pick is always the hardest. It's going to take forever to think like, I'm never going to get this, and eventually you will. And I think I mentioned that in the Mr. Sandman videos. Just take a measure at a time, even a half a measure at a time, 2 notes at a time with some of that finger picking stuff, even the rockabilly finger picking stuff. If you're struggling, you just have a pattern. Just that. Just practice that. And then build up the speed, And it'll eventually it'll feel comfortable. It'll become second nature in no time. And then same thing with the thumb picks too. It becomes very very comfortable after a while. And again, when you tuck that pick up, another thing that can help for practicing if you're struggling or getting or you want something different to do, just try playing some chords. Play chords, but instead of strumming them, just pick them with your so it sounds like a piano. Exactly, obviously, but you can get that, and you can go bass, bass treble. And play all different types of chords, any chord you can think of. Where you're playing the top strings in the middle, the bottom. And that'll just help getting used to, picking, basically. All right. And then, of course, when you're done bringing the pick back and going back to single note lines. And that just takes time. I've dropped my pick many times doing that, so it's always good to have a pick somewhere accessible, whether that's on your amp or you've got one of those little pick holders on a mic stand or something that can do it. They used to have, I don't know, I'm sure they still have them. They used to have these little pick holders with a spring that people would like stick on the back or top of their guitar or whatever. You could just, wherever's unobtrusive, and just go and grab another one right out of there. I used to use one and I stopped for some reason. I don't think I ever put it. I didn't like the idea of the tape on the guitar, so I didn't use that. All right. Anything else I can think of with finger picking? I think it's really just repetition, getting used to that. I mean, playing a little bit of Travis style without using the E strings, the bottom or the top, and just playing the 4 strings in the middle, like rolling it back and forth, or so that's 2 notes together and then bouncing back and forth. Like that. Another thing you can practice. Thank you. Which semi-hollow body would recommend coming from a hard rock background? Oh, Gretsch, of course. um, yeah, I mean, there's always something like I mean, I like the duo jets, but I'm biased towards Gretsch, but it really depends on the tone you're looking for. And I like Gretsch because it's kind of somewhere between a Tele and a Gibson. It's got the smoothness, or it's got the round tone of a Gibson, but it's got that bite and punch and of a Telecaster or something. But yeah, Gibsons sound a little too mushy to me for this kind of music. If you want something a little clearer, they can sound good. It just depends on the model. And I'm talking about like the Gibson pickups. The P90s sound great. That's another option too. Anything with a P90 in it, which I think Gretsch makes some of those. The Dynasonic pickups, and the Filtertrons, of course. But yeah. So when you say semi hollow, I'm assuming you're talking about not a full not a hollow body like this, but something that's like the duo jets, kind of. Some of them anyway. Yeah, the one, if you're playing hard rock and you're playing with a lot of distortion, the one thing about these guys is that they will feed back with any kind of distortion pedal pretty quick. So you have to be somewhat careful with that. Even just a tube screamer, it helps sustain, but if it's too, it can get unwieldy really fast. It can get away from you pretty quick. So a lot of the times with these guitars, if you want to get more distortion, more sustain, it's more about cranking the amplifier and getting just natural distortion from the tubes, as opposed to trying to use pedals too much. Thanks, Amazon. Let's see. got this one, this bowling shirt, and one other one. I do. I mean, I haven't bowled in a long time. I used to. I was pretty good. I thought I don't know. I got like a 300 or something. Um, Score was once, I think, and then I must have been just a beginner's luck, and then I played a few more times and didn't do as well. But I do enjoy it. But there's not too many bowling alleys around where I am. I used to play more years ago, but there's a lot of duck pin bowling, like smaller versions, and I want to play full regular, just a bowling alley. And I'm sure they're around, but I just haven't. I haven't had a lot too much time to do anything like that. But every time I've done it, it's always been enjoyable. But yeah, bowling shirts are kind of part of the whole rockabilly thing, anyway. Um, that and well, I'd love to get a Teddy Boy jacket, but they don't really make those anymore. You have to go get a custom tailor to do something like that. Yeah, they're relative. I mean, it's either that or Western shirts, right, for the rockabilly thing these days. The easiest thing to find. Let's see what else. Oh, so it's sort of related to finger picking, but not. You're not using your thumb. It's just picking the strings. And I'm sure people have done this before. I'm sure you've done this before. It just when you're playing a riff, something like that, you pick it with your again middle and ring finger. Kind of pop the strings. Adds a little different sound to it. And you can bend up like that. I'm gonna roll my thumb and hit the root note there. Because that's the other thing too. If you're not used to finger picking, you're gonna have to build calluses up on these fingers. Not gonna take very long until it's gonna start to hurt if you're not used to that. But just keep doing. It's a different type of callus than your fretting hand. And you might want to, and you'll have to. Usually, I know when guitar players first start to play, they realize, oh, I got to trim my nails because you can't play the chords, and you'll have to trim your nails a little bit, not as much, but some on the picking hand as well. Afternoon, Steve. How you doing? Glad you could tune in. I tried a Gibson ES once in New York City and got pretty close to buying it. Um, yeah, those are cool. I used to have a Lucille, BB King Lucille, and I had to sell it years ago. But are there any? There are not really any rockabilly clubs. Um, there's a few rockabilly bands, um, but I wouldn't say there's really. It's just a lot of. There's just local music venues. Everything's pretty varied. There's a lot of variation around all different types of bands. So the places that we play, there'll be a rockabilly band, and there'll be a blues band, and there'll be a harder rock band or a southern rock band or sometimes a cover band. I don't want to say top 40 because no one really is playing current top 40. There's a few clubs that do that, but usually those clubs, that's all they do, and they wouldn't have any kind of roots music. Nice. But yeah, there used to be clubs that would play that kind of cater a little bit, sort of, to rockabilly, but it's a lot of there's psychobilly and harder rock. Um, I wish there was some more roots, like rockabilly type clubs, but it tends to get all kind of wrapped into roots music in general. So blues, country, jazz, swing, um, all kind of falls into that. And all the clubs that have that kind of stuff, and even classic rock type bands, and whether they're doing covers or original hard rock stuff, it all kind of gets thrown together. And then you have your clubs that geared are well, more geared toward metal and hardcore, and then you've got, of course, your hip hop clubs and stuff like that, and then you have your dance clubs. And typically with places like that, there's not live bands, there's just DJs. um, there's a few funk bands too. That kind of stuff gets usually, not always, separated. That sometimes it gets wrapped in together. So we play at the same venues where we'll play one night, the next night will be a funk band with horn section and everything else. So um, yeah, it's all pretty eclectic all over the place, which I like that. I'm glad it's not just one thing all the time. Mm. But I mean, is there a big market for it? I don't know. We do pretty well. I mean, we play a kind of combination of stuff. A lot of the covers is from the 50s and 60s, but some covers is, it's rockabilly. So, of course, we play a few Stray Cats tunes, and that's 50s, but it's technically the 80s. And then, of course, we play original songs, and they're all over the place, from surf rock to rockabilly and stuff like that. And we don't really market it or use the term in terms of like 50s or 60s or something like that. That's kind of the sound of the era, but it's more of a genre of music, um, that's just started in the 50s but has continued into today. So I think I mean, just in the same way that there's a market for blues music and jazz music, it's still, which started even before the 50s, is there's just a lot of live music around. Oh no, not a lot of live music around there, from in Germany, huh? Yeah, here in the U.S., there's at least where any city area gonna have is pretty good. And you go down in the southern states, there's a lot of country, rockabilly, blues, jazz bands that'll just blow your mind. Um, Morning gizmos. What kind of pomade do I use? No, I don't use. Uh, I use. I used to use Murray's, but that stuff was a pain to get out of your hair. So I use I just use the Got to Be Glued brand. It's in the yellow can. I use the whatever it is, the gel, and then the hairspray, and that's it. Yeah. So yeah, live music is just all the Rhode Island is, which is where I am in. I go all around New England, but for the most part, stay in Rhode Island. There's enough diversity in clubs all in around the state, and the state's tiny. It only takes about an hour to get around the entire state, but um, the every little pocket, every little town of the state kind of has its own um, little culture. Um, are you talking to me? um, are you just joking around? Um, the yeah, there's a lot of different venues all around the state, and people tend to kind of stick to their area. So it's great because you can play one place one week, and then the next week you can travel, 45 minutes maybe. Oh, is he? Well, my bass player is Jewish, so uh, yeah, no, I don't have anything against it. What are you talking about, the bagel? Anyway, yeah, so we'll play like next week. We're playing Narragansett Cafe, which is a little, uh, not little. It's a good music venue. One of the best music venues in the state, and it's known for that. And it's in Jamestown, which is an island in between um, Newport and the mainland, the main area, which is what is the town over there, Saunderstown or something. Yeah, Saunderstown is right there. Um, and then we're playing Providence the week after that, and sometimes we'll get crossover people, but it's a different crowd. So it's great. I know when I used to play in Florida, um, I would play an hour and a half away clubs from one week to the other, and I'd get a lot of the same people. I think people would just drive around a lot more up down there than they do up here. Um, yeah, they're great looking guitars. Yeah, it's barely a state, right? The only state that has less people is Delaware. Well, not maybe not less people. I guess. I don't know. There's got to be other states that have, as far as maybe Alaska. um, yeah, Rhode Island's like it's like it's Connecticut and Massachusetts, and it's kind of like it should just be part of one or the other. But um, it's got a lot of culture though. Yeah, they're definitely good looking guitars. They play really great though too. So I I don't know. I'm trying to think of something. It's not really like a Gibson. Gibson has a very, I mean, close, somewhere like a Gibson. I heard once that, I don't know if this is true anymore, but years ago that some of the same, the necks for the Gretches were made in the same factory as the Ibanez necks. I don't know if that was like a pocket of time, or or if it's or if they still do that, but it's not a lot of radius on them. I think they play great. The one thing I like about Gretsch is, compared to other guitars, having worked in a guitar repair shop for a while, seeing all different types of guitars, is that the Gretches. Every time I've ever purchased a Gretsch, and I've purchased four that were new. The old my orange one. These are made in Japan today, but yeah, the orange one, it was, it was like on display or there, or at a guitar shop, so it had been sitting around. But the the other four Gretches that I've purchased have been just played right out of the box. Yeah, the Guild, they don't make Guilds anymore though. And the Dynasonics, oh yeah, I mean, those are those are great. I definitely want to get, at some point, a Gretsch with a Dynasonics, whether it's a Duo Jet or a hollow body or something. I just love the sound. There was a band, the band that played after us yesterday. The name of they're called Diablo Gato, and the guitar player had a white Falcon with the Dynasonic pickups, and I'm like, oh wow, that sounded great. Um, it's a slightly different tone, but yeah, they're basically. I got this thing shipped from Canada. Forget which I don't know if it was Montreal or Quebec. I don't remember, but anyway, yeah, it was kind of almost still somewhat in tune when I pulled it out of the box, and it was set up pretty much ready to play. I just had to kind of tune it up a little bit. Of course, I'm very picky, so before I ever played in a guitar shop or worked in a guitar shop, I was just like, whatever, didn't really think about it. Then I started learning everything, and I'm like, oh, let me check the neck, and then let me check the nut and the bridge, and now everything's got to be, just so. But it does make a difference. I keep the action pretty low. Um, let's see, what are some of the questions here? Um, yeah. Um, oh, the Squires. I mean, that was my first guitar. The 50s are over, man. Just let it go. I'm fine with letting the decade go, but I'm not going to let the music go. That's for sure. Ooh, does it? The Dynasonic? Nice. Oh, yeah. That's all right. You can't troll me anyway. Um, I've watched enough other live streams to see that. Yeah, genres of music don't die, man. They stay around forever. People still listen to classical, jazz, blues. Um, but if you only view music through aesthetic instead of its musicality, then I guess that's what happens. So, let's see. For the guitar. Yeah, it's just something I enjoy. I like playing music that swings. Um, which is something that takes a little bit to get used to. I know as a guitar teacher as well. I know it can uh, students that I've taught kind of can struggle with that a little bit. It's not the easiest thing in the world to get because it's you can technically write it out, um, but it's something that if you're not used to it, it's not as easy to even something that simple to be able to bounce to get that bounce going, especially drummers too. It's hard to get that got those eighth notes going, um, and play it as a shuffle. Black Sabbath, yeah, I like Black Sabbath too. Maybe. Yeah, it's very early '60s kind of thing. You know, I kind of figured it had these little television type symbol. I don't know. I guess that's TVs. I don't know. But TeleDynes. I mean, that's where the name kind of comes from. It well, sort of. It just means it's two words. It's tele meaning to broadcast, like television, right? And dyne means power or force. So to transmit force or power. That's what the meaning of the name is. And I saw this on Amazon. I'm like, oh, that'll work. I needed some other type of, something to wear on stage. But yeah, the swinging stuff. With or without delay, you got to get used to that up and down motion. A lot of people can play straight eights, but when it comes to, it takes a little bit to kind of get used to that swing. And a lot of bands play with electric bass, so even with swing stuff, you're still playing downbeats, you're still playing quarter notes. Boom, 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 boom. So you're not getting the swing. The swing you're going to get with like an upright, because you get the click. It naturally comes to it. And so the swing is implied through the click, not playing. You're not swinging the notes. You can do that with electric bass, but typically it's not. It doesn't usually happen. Sorry, what was it? Oh, a tasty lick. Let's see. I don't know. Let's see. I've gotten a couple of different things here. Here's a swinging one from one of my newer songs. That's another tune I wrote called Way Out West. Older now for me. Those are kind of the riffs there. I don't really have any crazy chord progression because I have a new song I haven't finished recording yet, and it's more of a 12/8 thing. Has a interesting progression. First part of Rude Mood by SRV. I'm playing a lot these days. I haven't played the beginning of that. I don't really play too much Stevie Ray Vaughan lately. I did learn Scuttle Button a while ago, and was gonna start playing it live, and then I don't know what happened. Just kind of, that happens sometimes. You have songs on a list and you start to learn them, and then it just doesn't make it into rehearsal, or you try it a couple times and it's like, it doesn't go crazy. It doesn't work, or whatever, I forget. I think that just got dropped somehow. I think I learned the main riff and part of the solo, and I never finished learning the whole solo, so I never went back to it, and I forgot. I don't even remember the riff anymore. But yeah, learning DAWs, different. I mean, I use Pro Tools for the most part, just because I'm familiar with it. But I can use Logic is good too. The downside with Pro Tools, of course, it's a subscription based thing. I mean, you can buy it, but then you don't get the updates, and you got to pay for that separately. So it's just like, you're probably better off if you have a Mac, just go with Logic. But if you have PC, you can also use Cubase, and I've found that for audio, I use a Mac. I'm using a Mac right now to do all this, and I do all of my stuff on my little Mac Mini because when you plug an interface into the computer, it just works. I don't have to worry about drivers and this and that and all this other stuff to try to get something working properly. Um, I worked IT for 5 years, and even that, it's still I know what to do with a PC. It's just frustrating, and it's like, well, I know this works. I use Premiere to edit the videos, Photoshop to do any pic photo editing I need to, Lightroom, and then Pro Tools for the audio dot. And the only reason why I continue to use Pro Tools instead of Logic is because I had Pro Tools, and I'm just familiar with it. I know all the macros. I know all the shortcuts and everything, so I don't have to think about it. Um, into YouTube guitarist. Um, I mean, other than my stuff, I don't know. Yeah, it's industry standard, but yeah, it's pretty much it's both. You can buy it, but again, you don't get the updates. Yeah, you can take a course on it. It's not that hard. It's just it's and all DAWs are the same. It's just a matter of getting used to the terminology from one to the other. Uh, and Logic puts things in different places, and it does have a nice feature where you can kind of collapse tracks. So you can have a bunch of auxiliary tracks linked together, and you can have like if you want to have 3 guitar parts or something, you could have all of that connected to one main track, and you can collapse them down and then open them back. And where Pro Tools, it has to be a separate track. It has playlists that you can move an audio file downward, but that you can't hear it. It's just to save it. Paul Davies, and there are some others out too. I don't know. Yeah, I'm not familiar. I mean, I might know by if I see the face, but I'm really bad with names. Yeah, there's a lot of. I mean, I haven't. I'm gonna be getting into that with the channel too, with theory, but I just haven't. Um, that's going to be part of the guitar. Um, do the guitar lessons first, and then we'll get into the theory later. And we'll start at the very basic beginnings of theory and move up from there. And I can take everyone as far as basic orchestration for big band or symphony, and that's when it starts to you get that far and it starts to you know you can kind of do whatever you want, and there's so many different avenues and ways to go theory wise, but it becomes more about like what you want to hear, and the theory is just understanding what works technically and what doesn't work technically, because at the end of the day you're still using your ear and deciding whether or not it sounds good, and then you're applying the theory to it later. It's kind of backwards, but it does it's necessary if you're going to do any sort of orchestration, um, for any kind of band. And I love getting into theory. So playing rockabilly, of course, there's not really a lot of need for it, but it's cool if you want to do some jazz chord substitutions and that sort of thing. You can kind of throw in different things in the middle of instead of just playing a standard 1-4-5, you can add in. Obviously, you can substitute stuff for the one. It can be anything. It can be a 6. It can be a 13. It can be a 9. Whatever. But um, You can do the tritone substitution tricks and things like that. Play your modes. That's more for soloing and stuff like that, but scales. And that's getting into, jazz a little bit. But it helps. It does help. It's good to know. Um, reading music, of course, is good to be able to do. Not necessary, but it's good. It's a good way to analyze music, so you can add different scales, different modes, con different texture to your playing, so you're not just stuck in playing pentatonics, major and minor, all the time. Always throw a diminished scale in there if you want to sound like you're playing jazz. 1, 2. Um, and you try different things and see what works. Sometimes you try something, you try an exotic chord in a song, and it doesn't work. I mean, pentatonic, blues, melodic minor, whatever. I mean, melodic minor is pentatonic. The same pattern anyway. Then there's major scales, of course, and harmonic minors. Modes are simply just notes. It's a major scale, but you start on the degree of whatever chord you're starting on. Yeah, you can do that. Pentatonic is just this pattern. That's it. And it's all the blues scale, right? So you can base all of your soloing right on the major, minor. Play around with it. I recommend learning take a few songs. You don't have to go crazy with it, but take a few songs you like and learn some solos from different songs. Don't have to be exactly note for note, but the idea is that you can see kind of the patterns as you're playing, and you go, "Oh, I've seen that before. I know what that is. I know that I'm in this key, so he's playing this pattern. Oh, okay." And some books are pretty good if you get some of the ones where it breaks down the solo and it'll tell you what scale, what mode it's based on. That can be very helpful. So you can kind of get an idea of what's possible, what can work, and like I mentioned in the videos before, having some of that in your back pocket to be able to use it in a fill-in situation, or even when you're playing a song here or there, where you always want to have the solo different each time. So the songs we play, it's about 50-50. So sometimes half of the songs will be note for note, as close as I can get it, and then the others will be improvised completely. So, and some songs are even part of the solos specific, and I have a go-to riff that I'm going to play, and then other part of the solo is completely made up. So on the spot. So it just depends on the tune. It depends on why I'm the why I'm going to do that. If I'm going to have a note for note solo, the advantage to that is that the band will get used to the same solo each time, and you just get tighter as a band because you know when it's coming, you can anticipate it. Where if you're improvising all the time, you end up in this rut where everything kind of starts to sound generic, and you can't really. You'd think you'd be more creative, but what happens is a lot of people end up just resorting back to what's easiest, and they'll just go with the cliche turnaround and the cliche rhythm figures and stuff like that, just to get through the that part of the song, and that's fine, but it's nice to have, even if the bulk of the solo is improvised. Once you get towards the end of the solo, okay, I'm going to go into this riff. Every time you hear this, the solo is ending, especially if you're in a song where it could go on for however long you want it to go. Obviously, you could turn to the drummer, or turn to the the band, and go, all right, 1, 2, 3, and then you're going to come back to the verse. Or if you're singing, then you have more control over the song, obviously. But the what was I going to say? The yeah, having those little triggers, those little recognizable riffs can help keep the band together and keep it tight. And it'll depend on the tune. And I find myself with some songs, I just never come up with a solo. It's always on the spot. It's always random, different. I might come up with a few riffs here and there that I like to play, and I don't always play them every time I play the solo. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. And but then other songs, over time as I play them, I'll find little riffs that will work, parts of solos that will work, and I'll always repeat it. And then before I know it, it kind of does have a written solo, but it was created organically over the course of months, years, however long I've been playing the song. Um, cool. Yeah, even then with like solos, you take a chord progression, whatever it is, 1, 4, 5, and just kind of mess around with notes in that scale. That's why the pentatonic is good to learn, because it's gonna work. So if you're an A, you can play whatever your just whatever the rhythm is or the feel of the song is going to be, and listen to stuff in that genre and listen to what people are doing and kind of get the feel of the rhythm of it, because it's not just notes, it's also the rhythm of the notes. So it's both. It's 50-50 on that. And if you're playing a solo, and the feel of the rhythm of the notes. So if it's a swinging thing like that, you're gonna whatever, and all of that's pentatonic. So you can use those, and the rock and roll stuff is all pentatonic. And you just kind of listen. Chuck Berry is a great thing to listen to for especially for rock and roll. And who else? Cliff Gallup, of course. I mean, that's I love that solo. I love that little thing at the end where you go. I mean, that sounds like the 50s for sure. Cool, man. Well, um, like I said, next video we've got the couple of gear related videos to go over, and then of course the Rockabilly Riffs Part 2. That's probably going to be the next one. Then I got a couple of videos about stuff I talk about here on the stream, but instead of just talking about it here, I'll make a video on it. Tips for playing in a band, uh, tips for when you first start playing guitar for beginner guitar players that are just figuring things out. And yes, don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, so that'll be the. I had a bunch. I went through and I created a bunch of different scripts. Oh, yeah. Talk about. Figured I'd do a video on like some of my favorite guitar players in general. My favorite rockabilly riffs over the years that I've heard. And just coming up with different types of things to drive interest to the channel while I'm working on the history of series that I've been talking about forever. But that's a work in progress because there's a lot of editing involved in that one. All right. All right. Well, thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Frankie. Thanks for hanging out. Appreciate it. Yeah, I'm about to sign off myself here, so I'm gonna just wind down, get back to working on some stuff. Get this next video is going. Yeah, the next one, like I said, is like an in-ear wireless in-ear monitor, is a gear review I'm going to be doing, and then the Rockabilly Riffs video, which is going to be 2-beat stuff as opposed to the swinging stuff. Oh, you're welcome, Mitch. So until next time, next week will be, what do we got? The 27th, I want to say. Yes. Same bat time, same bat channel. It'll be on the 27th at a Sunday at 2 p.m. After that, then I should be pretty open on Saturdays. I'll probably bring it back to Saturday around 2 or 3. Because like I said, things start to clear up a bit, and then I'll get back to more, be able to create more content for everybody. And until then, I will see you guys next time. Thanks again for hanging out. Don't forget to like and subscribe, of course, and check the videos out and click the notification bell to let you know when the new videos are dropping. Hopefully within the next week, I'll have at least 2 of the videos out, a gear review and then the Rockabilly Riffs too, which I got to write the tab for. So that's the next step for me going forward. All right. Have a good one, guys, and see you later.